Season's going to be a whole lot better and raise a lot of expectations about the coming year. Let's go over to quarterback corner with Dan Fouts and Mike Smith. Mike.
Thank you, Michael. You did it to one side of Pennsylvania last week, taking Pittsburgh. You got the Eagles coming in. Interesting matchup because you have the best coach in the game right now in terms of offense, the air game, Don Coryell, against the guy that maybe got it all started, Sid Gilman, part of the Philadelphia staff.
Very interesting. I know that Sid's going to be giving that pregame talk, too, to those Eagles because he doesn't want to come back to his hometown without a good showing. The other interesting thing, Mike, is that last week we played the Steelers, and they were the #1 defense in the AFC. Well, what do we get this week? The #1 pass defense in the whole NFL, the Philadelphia Eagles. The most yards that any team in the NFL this year has gotten against them passing, the Cowboys, is about 230 yards. So.
On the other side of it, there's Stinkola against the rush. And we'll talk about that when we get to the defense. Let's go to the offense first, because there's an old quarterback named Jaworski that's playing there. He's not too shabby.
Well, he's old, though. He must be at least 34 years old.
He's still playing?
Yeah, he's Stinkola, too, though.
He's watching tonight, incidentally. This is Herman Hunter, a running back.
Yeah, he's a good one, though. Yeah, blown the whole show, Mike.
Okay, great name for a wide receiver, Mike Quick.
Mike Quick is a bona fide superstar, though, and Jaworski's having a good year because of Sid Gilman. Sid took over about halfway through the season. They started the season with Cunningham, a rookie at quarterback, and Jaworski came on for him and has just done a super job. And you got to respect his arm because it's one of the strongest in the league. That's why they call him the Polish rifle.
You know something about this guy, Ernest Jackson.
Yeah, he's not Stinkola at all, Mike. He is pretty darn good. Ernest went to the Pro Bowl for us last year, and he's within about 150 yards of going over 1,000 this year for the Eagles, which is really a tribute to a guy because it's not easy to go to a new team and be a star, and he's done exactly that.
Defensively, a great young defensive line with Reggie White in there and Greg Brown. And again, you suggest top of the league versus the pass, but I think they're at the bottom of the league versus the run.
Well, it's not because they don't have the talent. It's probably some other reason, which I really don't care to get into because I might tip our hand, Mike, give you a couple of tips as far as what we're going to try and do against them. We have to be able to run the ball against them because they are excellent against the pass. They have a tremendous secondary. Roy Nell Young makes that play there. The other cornerback is a guy very familiar to San Diego State fans, Herman Edwards, a 9-year veteran who continues to play excellent defense on the corner.
You look at the last couple of games, and I guess you get into some of the individual achievements. Lionel James, 2 yards away from breaking a record that stood since 1958, Lenny Moore's record of yards receiving by a running back. He's 2 away. You ought to get that the first play out of the chute.
Well, we hope to get that record for him. I don't see anything that can stop him. Lionel has just had a fabulous year for us. It's really fun to see a guy like that do all the hard work it takes to making the conversion from running back to wide receiver, and then be able to go back and forth throughout the season, throughout each game, and excel at each position. It's just been great.
Let's kind of wrap it up tonight. You're going to be with us through the playoffs, talk about the playoffs and the Super Bowl and everything. Go to the AFC right now because there's still 12 teams going for those 5 slots, and it's going to be entertaining. We'll take a look at the AFC West, and this is the way it looks the final 2 weeks.
Yeah, and how do you pick the winner here, Mike? You got the Raiders and the Seahawks. The Seahawks have got a chance here because they play in the Raiders and the Broncos at last game, and the Raiders are playing the Rams in that last game. It ought to be a real tough one because the Rams have got to hang on to be the #1 team in the NFC West.
Now we go to the Central, and I mean, here's the possibility of a 500 team going to the playoffs.
I think it's a very good possibility that both the Bengals and the Browns will end up at 8-8, a 500 team. The Steelers have a tough time going in because their last game there is against the Giants. They'll probably finish up 7-9.
And finally, the AFC East and the possibility that 3 teams could come out of this division for the playoffs.
I think the advantage has to go to the Dolphins here, Mike, because they have what you might call their own destiny, and that last game is the Dolphins against the Bills and not the Bulls.
Now, I always botch this, so I'm going to let you do the toss this week because I fouled it up. I said Bree the other night, it was Carroll.
Well, it's okay, Mike, and you're not as stinkle as they say around here. Bree, back to you.
Very good of you to point that out, Dan. As we continue, Jack White will take you down Restaurant Row to a place that's a little different. That's our closing story in just 2 minutes.
Chargers are over the 500 mark, as we mentioned, with an 8-7 record. Not bad for a team with a much maligned defense for most of the year. Now, even though Eagle quarterback Ron Jaworski had a good passing day, the San Diego defense came through in the clutch. Pick up the highlights. Jaworski put together the biggest yardage day of his career. Here he goes to John Spagnola. Eagles on top 7-0 in the early going. The Chargers came out trying to trick Philadelphia, a little flea flicker. Back to Dan Fouts. He goes deep to Gary Anderson, and they just missed connections. Nice try anyway. A Bob Thomas field goal made it 7-3. Then Fouts in the third quarter went down. He has a bruised knee. It's not serious, but he left the game, and Mark Herman came in. Herman gives to Tim Spencer. 6 yards, and the Chargers are back on top, 10-7. But the lead didn't last long. Jaworski looks and finds Major Everett. Is this guy in the military? I don't know. He fumbled, but David Little recovered for the touchdown. 14-10 Eagles. But the Chargers took the lead for good. Herman, a quick popper to Charlie Joyner. 17-14 Chargers. Thomas kicked another field goal. Then late in the game, the Eagles driving. Jaworski throws. It is picked off by Danny Walters. An excellent interception. That wrapped it up. And it's going to give Don Coryell a better chance of keeping his job. A win at Kansas City next Sunday would also help. 20-14, the final. Remember.
And brought to you by Budweiser. Beechwood age for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. Jack in the Box restaurants with a winning lineup for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Try Crescent breakfast, burger classic, or complete dinner at Jack in the Box. Dixie Lion Lumber and Home Center. Brazil paint and wall coverings. Hydrovac carpet cleaning. And by You Rent Furniture.
You know that.
Keep your car in drive. A Gibraltar transmission tune-up can save you from those transmission failure blues.
Avoid those transmission failure blues with Gibraltar's $9.95 tune-up special.
Tonight, offensive lineman Ed White, 241 consecutive starts. That's an NFL record. We'll also talk with Don Coryell about his contract extension. And today, the move or the announcement to bring Don back for another year or two, it has to set well with you as an offensive performer.
Well, I love playing for Coach Coryell. I don't think there's a better coach in the league to play for, and it just gives me that much more incentive to go out there and get myself ready for another year, because I just enjoy playing for him that much. I'm lucky I've only had to play for 2 coaches, and Bud Grant and Don Coryell. I couldn't be any more fortunate. Yeah.
What Don was talking today about some of the changes, because there will be some changes with the coaching staff this year, and we had a chance to talk with him at his office earlier today, and this is what he had to say.
The reorganization, Mr. Spanos, of course, is a very bright man, and he's doing everything he possibly can to help us win and get to the playoffs and hopefully to the Super Bowl. And he has made some suggestions, and I think they're just outstanding. He made some changes, in that Al Saunders will be our assistant head coach, and his main duties are to help me with my the administration of the program, the organization of it, and also extremely important, he'll be a liaison between the coaching staff and Mr. Spanos.
Well, the most important thing, I think, in the position is the opportunity to work in an administrative and organizational capacity with the head football coach and with our owner, and also serve as a liaison between Don Coryell and Alex Spanos and vice versa. So I'm looking forward to assuming some of those duties and lightening our head football coach's load in terms of things that don't directly apply to the working of the football program to win football games.
Now, Ernie Zampese, he has been the assistant head coach, and he's still going to have exactly the same functions. And I just want everyone to know, in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinions, Ernie is the best offensive coach in football. There's no question in my mind. And his duties are just completely football, just to do everything he can to keep our offense the best in the league. And also Dave Levy, who has been our offensive coordinator, he'll still have exactly the same duties. He'll be in charge of the offensive line, of course, our running attack, and, of course, our pass blocking.
Defense, the MVP, Billy Ray Smith. Some of the other